Hi, and welcome to part two of the four-part tutorials for Project M2A1, Modeling Landscape Structures in SketchUp. Last time we worked on this gazebo. Uh, Sorry, I fumbled a little bit there with the outliner and the regrouping these railings here. But if you have any questions on that, you can email me about that. But hopefully if you play back through it, you'll get that okay. And we got most of this done in class. So because this will get in the way, one of the other advantages of using groups and components is I can right click on it and just say hide, and that geometry will disappear. So let's focus on this next quadrant here. It's probably the most, well, I don't know, it's maybe the most difficult next to the gazebo in terms of how it works, but it's really a pretty straightforward and simple structure itself. So it's basically you can make this brick patio. I'll talk about materials on Tuesday, so we can apply the materials later, especially if you have things organized by groups and components. It makes it really easy to change things later. So envision this as a, what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hexagonal patio space with a little fire pit that we're going to pull up. And what I want to do is create a bench around the outside on these three sides back here, because we're going to have a walkway here and a walkway here. So we're going to have benches around the three sides. And this bench, we're going to use kind of a stick-by-stick built approach, but the bench I'll make solid and use subtraction method, and the back of the bench I will create as in an additive way. But we'll use the move and rotate functions, the move copy array, and we'll use the follow me tool to create these pieces. So again, using actual wood dimensions. If you want to use nominal dimensions, everything in here I'm going to make out of 2x4s. If you want to use 2x6s, 2x4s would be 1.5 inch by 3.5 inch, 2x6, 1.5 by 5.5. You can do that. But the first thing we're going to do, if you remember from the first tutorial, double click, shift, double click. We're going to select this whole area and we're going to make it a group. So now we've got the geometry isolated from everything else. I'm going to start with a bench because the fire pit's pretty easy. And it relates to kind of similar technique that we're going to use on the wall in the other quadrant. Now, one of the issues is I want to extend these three sides and use an offset to create a bench that's 2 feet wide. But because this is a regular polygon created by the regular polygon tool, it's welded together into one piece. So in order to select individual sides, I don't want to offset the entire thing. I am going to select the edge, right click, and choose explode curve. Okay, so just like in AutoCAD, it explodes that down into its pieces. So now I can select 1, 2, 3 sides, and that's all I need. Then I'm going to use my offset tool. I'm going to come down here, pull off the edge, and I'm just going to type 2 feet. Okay. Then I'm going to start from here and parallel, perpendicular, snap to the edge. Should connect there. So I'm going to close to that edge. Now again, this isn't closed over here, so I get another line. I'll just hit the L key because it keeps the line tool active, but it releases it from that drawing. Okay, so now I've got this, but it's not closed, which is good because you can see that I made a mistake. There's a gap there. That's how I know everything I know, because I've made lots of mistakes. So don't panic if it doesn't close into a surface. Look for the error because you made one. So I'm going to snap right to that. No, I'm not. So I'll tell you why that's not working, and you might be able to guess it. You see this inference here? It's really strong, and it's forcing the inference. And if you zoom in far enough, you can see it's extending that line. Now, if I want to keep this right on that axis, that's fine. But if I just zoom in and move over, I click on that edge and it seals the surface up. And I have a nice surface there. Okay, I can click on that and you can see it's selectable. And of course, inside this, we're going to have the patio, the fire pit, the bench. Double click, right click. Again, here, in this case, probably a group for this is fine. I don't really need to make this a component because I'm not really going to use it anywhere else in the model. That's one of the criteria. If you're going to reuse something, make it a component. If you just need to isolate geometry, make it a group. And I haven't been very good about naming, but let's go into entity info. I right-clicked. I'm going to call that patio, bench. All right. We'll leave that sitting over there for right now. I am going to, well, I'm going to do a couple things here. Since I know the bench isn't going to be sitting on the ground, I'm going to select the move tool. And I know a good seating height is about 18 inches. So that is 1 foot 6, enter. Okay, so I did 1, the foot mark on the keyboard, 6, don't need any annotation after the 6, and enter. So now I've got it sitting up in the air. My seat height is 1 foot 6 above the patio. Okay, now I'm ready to open it up. And let's extrude the seat. Push pull tool. I'm going to take it up 1 inch, 1.5 inches. Okay, so right now I'm going to leave this as a big solid plank. Of course, you know you can't buy boards that big. So we'll break it down into the pieces using the follow me tool and a little subtraction method. But for now, let's just leave it the way it is. Okay, now I'm going to click and get outside of that. So I'm still in, if I look at my outliner, still in the bench group, open it up, but I'm not inside the bench itself. I'm inside the patio and bench group, which I haven't renamed. So let's right click, rename, patio and bench, enter. Okay, so I'm going to get inside there and I want to work on this. I guess since the rest of these components are part of the bench, I'm going to get inside of here. Now, because I don't want this geometry to connect to this, which it would if I start modeling things, I'm going to triple click on this, right click, make it a group, and I'm going to name that group seat. Okay, so that's the seat part of the bench, and we'll add the back and the rail, the boards for the back and all that stuff. Okay, so now I need to draw some supports, and what I'm going to do is create kind of an angled back support and then put 2x4s all the way along there. And since I need to do that, I can associate it with this. One of the things I can draw it by snapping inferences along this surface. But at this point, one of the things that might make it actually a little easier for me is to have the axis, which right now is out, wherever it is, out here aligned with these sections, these quadrants in the original model. You can see this is off of an angle. So instead of trying to work with that variation, if you come over here in the measurement tool panel, toolbar, there's something called axes. So I can come in here and say, okay, I want this to be my red. Want this to be my green, and that's going to be my blue. So now I just switched the model axes to relate to that particular object and that particular edge. So now it's totally different than it was before, and I'll show you how to change it back. Now the advantage of that is I can use the line tool, and I'm going to draw support that is a 2x4. So I'm going to come over here, maybe, let's see, what do I want? I'm going to have it come out 1.5 inches this way, which would leave me 2 inches this way, right? That's 3.5. So I'm going to 2 inches. I'm going to go up. Let's go, just take it up 2 feet. I'm going to go over 3.5, down, and you can see if you're not getting it, I want to make sure I have the blue axis and it's inferring to the corner. So I'm going to get that, and I'm going to get that, and I'm going to go back to there. So now I just made a surface that kind of represents how you might fasten a support on there, because it would be notched around this board, so it helps connect to it a little bit better. And I'll use the push-pull tool, and I'm going to come out to 1.5 inches. So there we are. It's got that. And because I grouped this, I can triple click on this and select it all, and it won't affect anything else, which is exactly what I want to do. So first thing I'm going to do is triple click and make this a component, because I am going to reuse this. And I'll just call it bench back support. And I'm going to double click and get inside here. What I want to do is, that doesn't look very comfortable, right? Unless you really like sitting up straight. So I'm going to just drag over and select the top, choose the move tool, and move this over about 3.5 inches. So the width of it, I'm just going to, now it's tilting back at a little nicer angle. Okay. Again, it could be straight up and down. I just want a little bit of a tilt on it. Now I don't need, this to be solid all the way across. I'm going to put 2x4s on the front of this to create the actual surface that you lean against on it. So the first thing I'm going to do is move it over maybe 6 inches from the edge. So again, select the component, move tool, slide it right there because I have an edge to reference. There's 6 inches. And since I want it evenly spaced, I'm going to use my trusty tape measure, move over here 6 inches, and put a spot there. I think it put a spot there. Let's find out. Move tool. I'm going to grab this corner along the edge because that's what I'm referencing. I think that's it there. It snapped to it. You couldn't see the little plus, but it put it in there. It put that marker point. And now, what are we, maybe 4 divided? So we have 4 of them in there. Again, we're going to have 2x4s supporting the front, so we're just going to put those in there. Now let's work these the rest of the way along the edge. And I don't know, I guess you could do it either way. I could copy these and put these into a group, copy the whole thing, rotate it around. I guess that kind of makes sense. Actually, when I practiced this, I didn't do it that way, but now that I'm thinking about it, let's just do that. I have to do this once. Okay, and the sides are all the same width, so why not? So I'm just going to select those, make it a group, move. Now, first thing I'm going to do, actually, before I move it, I'm going to get my trusty tape measure, move over 6 inches. Okay, now that definitely is not 6 inches. So I did something wrong there. So I'm going to back up and fix that because I want it to be right. All right. Not sure why this tape measure is having a little bit of an issue because it should be able to click along this line. Maybe because this is a component. So if that happens, I'm just going to use a line. So I'm going to move along here 6 inches, draw a line, and escape out of there. So now I just have a reference point. I don't really have a parallel edge to pull off of here, so I have to measure it. Now I'm going to do the move and the array. Again, the reference point I'm using is right on the corner because that's where my reference line is down here. I don't want to grab this corner. I don't want to grab this corner. I want to grab it right here. Control move, snap it to that corner, 4 / divide, and we've got those 4 in there. So that looks much better. That will work much better. So now we're going to shift select each of these, group them, and now I'm going to start, let's see, I'm going to draw another line here, another 6 inches, and I can go in and select that line and just delete it because I don't need it anymore. And again, because I want this edge, I want to line up with this edge, right? So that's the point I am going to use the move copy. So I'm going to click right there, move a copy off. If you keep the control key down, you kind of tilt the world. So if you let go of it, once you get the copy, you can let go of it. And I'm going to snap that right to that point. So yeah, that looks fantastic. Not really, right? But we do know that we can pivot that around, and I also know the point that it needs to rotate around. So this will zoom in on that, get the rotate tool. I'm going to click right there. That's my pivot point. I want it to rotate right around there until it's square. So I'm going to click, let go, come out here. Now the other reference point is right here, right? I'm going to click on that. I'm going to move that around until it snaps to that corner. And there you go. Except that isn't even close, is it? Nope. So that side must be a little longer based on the offset. So, all right, that's easy enough to solve, right? What do we do? Thought that would work. Actually lined up perfectly, but it's not looking the way we want it to. So I'm just going to explode this. And that just breaks it down into the individual pieces, which I can select. And just get rid of those. I have this one in the correct position. take my line tool, draw 6 inches. There we go. Move tool, snap to that point, control, click. And I'm going to use the same spacing, even though it may be actually a little wider apart, 4//, just so visually it kind of looks the same. They're a little wider spacing, but can support the 2x4. So let's do the same thing. To tell you the truth, I've done this copying a single one and copying two. It actually is easier to rotate it into place having more than one. So I'm going to select this one and this one. Spin around so I can see what I need. Use the move tool. Control click that edge. Of course, what did I forget to do? I forgot to mark the 6 inches, but I'll fix that. I'm going to snap it here, get these rotated into place, and then mark it and move it over. So right there, blue plane, snap to this, snap to that, and they're lined up. Since I don't need this one, could get rid of that. Go back to my line tool, 6 inches, delete that extra one. Move tool, and just move it until it snaps to right there. Now in this case I've got an edge which I should be able to use with my tape measure, so I can click on that. It's not showing up somehow. This had to do with the group hierarchy, so I'm just going to draw my 6-inch line in there again. Going to select that, choose move, get that point right on the edge that I use as a reference, control click, snap it right to there, 4//, divide, and there we go. Okay, so now if I want to, again, for the convenience of being able to organize this, I'm going to right drag across all of those. Well, these are already grouped, so maybe what I'll do is explode this first, because I don't want them a little subgroup in there. So I'm going to drag across, get all of them, group, and now they're all grouped together. And I can click on this, rename, and say back supports. All right, so I've got the solid bench, I've got the back supports. Now I need to figure out how to put the boards on here. So this is another time where I really can draw the outline here, and then I can use the follow me with this, and I can copy that up and use the same reference line to get them to line up. So this one of the things that will help me, since this is kind of angled back, I'm going to use my axis tool again, and I'm going to click here. Well, actually, I probably want to click down here. So I'm going to click here, say red, green, yeah, sorry, horizontal plane, so red, green. Okay, that didn't do exactly what I want, because I really want this angled here, so let's try that again. Axis, okay, I'm going to use that edge, and that looks perpendicular, so that's what I want. So I don't really care which axis is which. I just had the line that I could use this reference for the first one. That got the right angle for the benches. So again, it doesn't really matter for this. Now we can come in with a rectangle tool and just draw right along that angle. And it just keeps everything in the right orientation. So that is 1.5 by 3.5 right there. Now I'm going to double click on this and just move it for right now. I'm not going to make it a group at this point. I will, but this way I think I can use the same line. We'll just keep it right here. So I'm going to move it, and I'm actually going to move it out here. So you could put it up a little bit, or you could just snap it right to the bottom. And then I'm going to grab a point. It's just down a little bit. Control, move, and snap that here. So the top of that sits up above that a little bit. And let's do 4 divide. 5 divide. That looks better. So we've got a little space in between there, but it's not too big a gap. So that'll create a pretty consistent back. Okay, so we've got these surfaces, they're lined up there, and now I need a line. So because this bench is grouped way inside here, I need to pull a line out where those rectangles are in order to make it work. So I'm going to go inside the bench seat group. I'm going to select all those lines. I'm going to copy them. And I'm going to get out of here until I can select these, okay? I need that line, the path needs to be at the same level within the group as these, or I can't really use it the way I want to. So now I'm going to choose Edit and Paste in Place, and it's going to paste that right where I want it. Now, I had trouble with this today, so I'll try this, but it wasn't working for me earlier, and I have to figure out why. You should be able to weld this together. So if I go to Extensions and Weld, it should turn that into a single line that when I click on it, I don't know why it wasn't working for me earlier. That allows you to select that path with a single click instead of having to go around and click on all three sections. It just connects all the endpoints together. So if I select that line, follow me, click on this, it's going to run that all the way around to the edge. Back to select, follow me, click on that, done. Let's reselect, follow me tool, click on that one, reselect, follow me tool, and you'll notice it extends it out it gives a warning, but you don't have to really worry about that. Clearly it's working okay. So follow me tool, select, follow me tool, click on the surface. So it's actually extending it out to the end. If you look around, it's kind of tucked in, gives us our nice compound miter here. Everything fits together really nicely. Okay. Now, if you want to really get accurate, you could go in and put lines down here that represent those surfaces. And since right now this isn't grouped, I think I can actually do that by just going from there to there. And you'll see that it did add the lines in between, which I don't need, but it just connected all those to the surface. If you want to do that, you don't have to. But that way it represents that there's actually a joint there. The wood doesn't bend around the corner. There is a joint between there, and there's no little lines in here. Again, make sure you zoom in so you can delete the pieces that you want and not the pieces that you don't want. Okay, so I can select these, just right click across them in between the supports, shift, right click across them. Oops, got that one. Well, actually, might be easier to select across this way, which doesn't give me the bench. And because this is a group, it doesn't give me that either. So I can do that and then right click, make that a group. And I've got all the pieces for the boards in there. Okay, so that's a pretty quick way to make that and to deal with the fact that since this is an angle on the horizontal plane and it's an angle on the vertical plane, you get this compound miter joint here. And trying to do that manually is really difficult, but this method makes that work pretty well. All right, so let's go back to our bench then. Since we have those nice boards there, we need to make this match too. So I'm going to draw a rectangle here. Okay, that's not working. Okay, think about it. Why isn't that working? It's because I changed the axis. So what I need to go is back my axis here, red, green, blue, and now I have that axis lined up right where I want it. And now I'm going to draw right along the edge. So there's 3.5 by 1.5. Double click on that. I am going to move that with the control, move copy to the end, and let's try 5/. That looks like pretty similar spacing to what I have here. Now, problem with what I just did was, worked great, but these are all separate surfaces and they shouldn't be because they're outside the group. So again, double click, double click, shift key, double click, shift key, double click. I'm just going to take all these. I'm not going to do it over again. Go to edit, cut. Let's get back inside here. Edit, paste in place. Okay, so now these are all separate entities. Now, just to make sure this works right, I'm going to reverse the faces here. I don't think it should affect what we're about to do, but I'm going to do it anyway. Just to make sure they're all the same. Okay, and I need that path. So that path I picked before is right there. I'm going to cut that. I just use the keyboard shortcut, Control X. Yeah, it probably won't matter here. I can paste it in place, but it probably, okay. Just makes it easier to select. So I'm going to select that. Follow me. And not this, I'm going to click on the space, and it basically is going to pull that space around and subtract it. So I go, well, I think I got rid of my line too, though. If it does that, just select the individual lines. 1, 2, 3, follow me. It's going to subtract that. What happened is because I actually created a new entity here, separated from the rest, it got rid of that. But you just have to select it, click. Okay, we're going to get that one. Doesn't really matter what order you select it in. Follow me tool, take the gap, select tool, 1, 2, 3. And I'm always using the same reference so that everything stays aligned. Okay, so that's done. Get out, click out, click out. So now you can see that we've got the boards lined up there. They fit together on the back. The compound miters are nice, and we have individual boards for the bench. So from this point, I'm going to just get inside the bench one level. You could come in here and underneath here. Again, all right, now I've got a problem with how this is oriented. So I'm going to come in here with my axis. This way, done. Let's tell you the truth. I can do it up here. I don't have to go underneath. Let me get my rectangle. There's 5.5. There's a 6 by 6. I'm going to draw that. Group it. Could make this a component since I'm going to reuse it. Support post. I can push pull it. Down to that surface, and I can push pull this back down to this surface. So I just kind of picked a location for it. Looks like it's maybe over a little bit, but now once I have it drawn, I can just use the move tool. Kind of want it centered in there, right? Be right between those two boards. And then you can use the same copy that we've been doing. So control click. Hold it over that line. That is the green axis. And if you want another support in there, maybe we just do 2// and we get another one. So you can repeat that along the other edges until you get the other supports under there. Okay, I mean, we could go in here and put 2x4s to help support that from the sides. We're not going to worry about how it actually connects to that at this point. We just need to have some visual support under there, that, assuming it's going to hold it up. And then the fire pit's pretty straightforward. So get in one level, get in here, going to do an offset, and maybe a foot. There we go. Select that, that, and that. Let's group it. Make that fire pit, open it up, push pull. You know, you can come up maybe 1'6", so people can sit on that too. And then just like I demonstrated in class, if you want to make a little cap for it, and we could pull the inside up a little bit. Not sure why I made that little space, but that's in there. So you could double click and select this, move a copy of it up, maybe about 2 inches. Make that a group. Open it up. We're going to use the offset. Offset that out about 2 inches. Double click to select that inner. Now in this case, if I delete that, I'm deleting that outside edge, which I don't want to do. So this is a case where if I want to fix this, I just have to select that edge, delete that because I want the space, then use the push-pull tool just to push that down to snap to the edge there. So I can actually use 2 different colors if I want for the fire pit, and it has a nice capstone on top of it. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. If you don't want this little hexagon in here, get in there and just delete it, and you're good. All right, so that's the second tutorial. You can copy these legs around just the same way we copied these back supports for the post. So I'm not going to go through and do all that. But that gives you an idea of how to keep that scale, how to get those 2x4s. Again, 1.5 inches by 3.5 inches. And this post was about 2 foot tall, and I tilted it back about 3.5 inches to get the angle. Again, it doesn't have to be exactly that. Something that looks like it would be comfortable to sit on will work just fine. The same methods, regardless of the angle, will work.